Jordan.
Okay. And we have any presentations of awards?
We do. Usually we have a podium. Let me go see if these mics work. We need this too. Testing. Does that work? Come on. All right. Let's try it like this. Okay. So we do have one this morning, and it is for Mike Plunkett and his 40 years of service to the state. So Mike came all the way over from Northeast Oklahoma to join us today. He was hired in November of 1981 in the game division as an area assistant at Eufaula Wildlife Management Area. He was promoted in 84 to the area assistant 2, 86 reclassified to wildlife technician, 89 transferred to Fort Gibson Wildlife Management Area as a wildlife technician. 94 he was promoted to wildlife biologist, 1 at Fort Gibson WMA. 2000 he became the Northeast Region senior biologist, and then in October of 2018 he was promoted to Northeast Region supervisor. So on his initial application, he stated his reason for wanting to work for ODWC, quote, "I like to work outside, and I also have been a hunter and like to help the conservation of wildlife and wildlife habitat." Somebody thought it was important that that typo be pointed out right here today. Habitat with an E on the end. Back in the day, I didn't write it, but somebody thought it was funny, so it's probably Wade or Becky if I'm guessing, but back in the day in 1983, an outstanding evaluation justification stated, quote, "His formal training as a welder and machinist put him on a level far above the standard. He readily accepts a challenge and meets them with a common sense approach." Hands down, his favorite task is conducting the annual waterfowl blind drawings for the Northeast region. Not, right? He was commissioned as a reserve officer in September of '96 and recognized in 2002 as Wildlife Biologist of the Year. Give it up for 40 years of service, Mike Plunkett.
I know who wrote all that. That'd be Bill Dinkins, probably. Anyway, I don't need that, but anyway, it's been great 40 years. I'm not saying I'm retired yet, so you may have me for a few more years, I don't know, but thinking about it on the way up here, it's like, you know, probably the only job I've had, and I'm not young, so I've had a few jobs before this, even though way more than 40 years ago, but I don't know that there was a time other than when I was in like Grand Tetons or whatever that I've ever said, I really don't want to go to work in the morning. Really never been a time that I said, man, I just hate to get up and go to work in the morning. I really look forward to it every morning, have 40 years and continue, and even though the habitat, you know, a little misspelling there.
Habitat.
So, but anyway, it's been a great place, still love it, still love doing work. Appreciate it, let me work here for 40 years.
Thank you for your 40 years. All right. Item number 7, consideration to vote, approve, amend, reject, or take action on the minutes of the November 21 meeting.
For approval.
Roll call.
Commissioner Farley?
Aye.
Commissioner Mabry? Commissioner Holder? Commissioner Dillingham? Commissioner Kenny? Commissioner Gaddis?
Aye. And the director's report from J.D. Strong.
Thank you. So in your packet, you've got a report on Congress, federal actions, state of play at the federal level from Brittany Preston, our liaison at the federal level. Really just still a lot of jockeying on the budget side of things between infrastructure packages and reconciliation packages. a lot of stuff that doesn't have a huge impact on us, although there are some potential increases in conservation programs like EQIP and some of the other USDA programs that could be extremely beneficial for wildlife habitat on the ground on private land if they are to pass. The Recovering America's Wildlife Act is still trying to make its way through. While we still haven't seen a stimulus or infrastructure type package that would directly benefit fish and wildlife infrastructure, there is a proposal rattling around that could benefit us ultimately. And so, in fact, we have a deadline today to submit our list of projects to our national organization, AFWA, so they can make sure they've got that ready to go to justify trying to move something through. So I'll let you flip through that report and see if there's anything else of interest there. At the state level, we, of course, will kick off Thursday of this week the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies Midwinter meeting. And though we were technically the host, since we're hosting this summer and we're planning to fly out tomorrow, the latest developments on COVID and complications with our host hotel in Tucson drove a decision to move all of that virtual and online. So we'll have a little more condensed schedule, but it's still going to be Thursday through Saturday, almost solid meetings now online, not near as interesting as they are in person. A couple of weeks, I'll be traveling to both SHOT Show and Safari Club International are having their conventions the same week in Las Vegas. The governor's going to be there the Wednesday of SHOT Show, making the rounds. I helped connect him with a couple of folks in firearms and ammunition industry, so he can meet with them while he's there and focus on the State Department of Commerce's new effort to attract firearms and ammo manufacturing companies to the state of Oklahoma. So we'll see how that goes. The guys that just bought out G&H Decoys in Henrietta are actually going to have a booth there at SHOT Show this year, trying to get some business drummed up for them. So they're, of course, the last American-made decoy company, and they're headquartered in Henrietta, have been there almost 90 years. So, but it's under new ownership. I know I'm friends with a guy that left a really successful law practice in Tulsa to buy it out with some other partners, and they're going to see if they can kind of bring it out of the Ray Penny, see if they can make a go of it. So that will be interesting. They did not. No. This will not be huge. Yeah, they did not have SHOT Show last year, so that nearly crushed the National Shooting Sports Foundation too, because that's their big breadwinner every year. Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation Foundation having a board meeting January 24th for the board members. Opening day of legislative session coming up February 7th. Corey, did you have anything to report on the legislative front yet? Not really? Yeah. When you come up for the resolution? Okay. You'll see her legislative report, and later on in the agenda, we'll see if there's support from the commission more formally. We know all of you from conversation support it, but we'll once again be trying to see if we can get legislative approval of our licenses and fees coming out of statute and being handled through the rulemaking process. And so Corey can discuss that later. Flipping quickly through, because I'll not insult your intelligence and read all 10 pages of my report for you. It's in your packet. Lots of activities on a lot of different fronts, especially to close out the year. Continue statewide fish stockings and fish division. Thanks to fisheries staff for participating in an Oklahoma-Texas joint Legislative Sportsman's Caucus. They gave them a tour of the Durant State Fish Hatchery while those legislators were down in Durant. Flipping through here again. We do have a new cooperative agreement drafted between us and ODOT to provide some additional fishing access at Eldon Bridge on the Barren Fork east of Tahlequah. So that's some fruits of the labor of Barry and Ken meeting with ODOT folks and trying to take a look at as they construct new bridge crossings across the state. Are there some that we can turn into fishing access sites? And so that was one of those. Be sure to tune in to the report from C&E Division. There's lots of varsity and middle school shoots coming up on archery and shotgun shooting sports program side of things. You'll see the dates and locations for those. The regional shoots are coming up February, as well as the state shoot February for archery. So if you're interested in any of that, let us know. You'll also see the dates and locations in March for the regional shotgun shooting sports program, scholastic shooting sports program shoots, lots of other things going on communications and marketing side, try to boost that antlerless harvest, on and on and on. Wildlife division so far, so closing out rifle season, we had at the end of gun season 57,103 deer checked, with 33% being antlerless. That's compared to last year, which was a record-breaking year, 61,803 checked in, with 36 being antlerless. So slight decline on both. Overall harvest is at 104,424. Of course, we still have 12 days left in the season, so but definitely over 100,000 deer checked already, with 36% being antlerless. That's compared to this time last year, 112,000 with 38% being antlerless. Again, slight declines there. We sort of anticipated a little bit of decline, but we're still raging over pre-COVID numbers. So that was as of, when did you check those numbers? Yeah,
Okay.
he's got right now numbers.
We're up to 115,032 harvested. We're up to 40.5% antlerless. We raised that up.
Wow.
So that's good.
That is good.
And we still got DMAP properties and other things going on that, like you said, in a couple of weeks. But we're going to be below last year's record year, 126,000, but we're still pretty good pace.
Still doing good, and got those antlerless numbers up big time with the holiday antlerless bonus. Yeah, that's awesome.
Bill, do you have numbers just for the holidays yet?
I can get them for you. I looked at
I know it just stopped, but I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just curious if you had,
Thank you.
because we kind of expanded it.
Yeah, great work on everybody's part. I know C&E in particular was doing big pushes hard on increasing interest in antlerless hunting. Still have the second half of waterfowl season going. Just get out there and shoot some ducks. Maybe the colder weather's pushed some down. We've received a lot of praise from constituents regarding the every 2-week wetland status and waterfowl reports that staff have been doing as well. Just flipping through. See there, law enforcement racked up a lot of miles and citations and warnings and fines issued through November busy season and December as well. District 2 wardens held a special emphasis with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on waterfowl hunters at Sequoia Wildlife Refuge. You can see the results there. District 6 did 2 different night flight operations, and you can see the results of those efforts. And several other overpass operations and other special emphasis groups on the waterfowl side and in District 4 as well. So with that, I'll just wrap up and see if there are any questions of me.
I have a question on the overpass. Can you explain that a little bit, Nate?
Yeah.
We set up on an overpass and watch the trucks coming underneath, and if there's deer or deer in the back of the truck, over, check their light.
So you radio ahead some warnings.
That's their probable cause. You actually see the deer carcass like in the bed or on a cargo carrier.
It's only if they have evidence of deer, but it's not like the overpass.
And how do you figure out where to set those up?
They've got the local wardens in those areas, they find a good overpass and have good access and back and forth on those directions. And then they'll set somebody on the bridge. We try not to do it right in the middle of the busy, falls or.
Yeah, don't do it down by Falls Valley.
Check last year.
I got pulled over.
Really? Well, what's your fine? I'm not.
I'm good.
But it's a good tool for us, and it gets a lot of, word goes out pretty quick.
Word gets out fast. They start posting on Facebook in 5 minutes.
Do they?
Hey, wardens are out at I-40 and Bethel Road.
If you have any, like deer, mule deer, elk, antelope, coming back in the state, you know that we're not going down like this.
We have a few cases that I know of, we probably have more than the individual that we just been here of, and I haven't heard about. One of the last cases I heard of was last weekend, a guy came from one part of Texas, and was going back to another part of Texas, and we caught him about 5 miles from the line, and just educated him, and took him on back to Texas.
Yeah, it hadn't been too significant, or I would have heard some complaints about it, yeah.
You've been doing that a long time.
What, 2 or 3 years now?
Yeah, that's pretty new rules. Shoot, this is the second hunting season, I think, those rules.
The biggest issues we've had has been on the deer processing facilities that are close to the state line, like at Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, up in that northeast area. That's the biggest problem we've had, is people coming across the state line. And it's just an education problem there.
No, I meant the overpass.
Oh, overpass.
You've been doing that a while.
Yeah, we've been doing it.
Bill, did you have something to add?
I have one item we need to get in the director's report, but I think it's very worthy.
Yeah.
The land, and land.
Yeah.
So, as y'all know, we've been working on 2 properties down at Sandy Sanders, McIntyre and Lane. We closed on the McIntyre on December 17th. We closed on the Lane property on the 30th of December through a lot of hard work, admin, Amanda's shop, Kristen, Russ, Wade, several of us get this done before the end of the year. Big push, big rush, we got it done. We're proud new owners of 6,200 acres down there at Sandy Sanders, while I'm in there.
Yeah. And thanks to some last minute scrambling from Clayton too, on some legal snafus we were sorting through at the very end. Yeah.
Anyway,
Good.
got her done.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it.
Great work, everybody.
Yeah, good job.
That concludes my report.
Any more questions for JD? All right. The next item is the consideration to take any action on a written position statement from the commission pertaining to license-related legislation. Corey? Hello.
Can you hear me okay? I can talk loud. Good morning. So I guess I'll start off with just a very brief update on legislative stuff. There haven't been any new bills filed at this point. As you know, we're going to try again to push our big license bill, and we already submitted language which would move all of our licenses out of statute and let you all vote on license changes by administrative rule. We have two new bill authors that we're going to attempt to work with this session, Representative Kevin Wallace and Senator Roger Thompson. So both the appropriations chairpersons, and Kevin Wallace is also our new Sportsman's Caucus co-chair. So he has a separate affiliation that should, I think, benefit us in moving this forward. We don't have any other plans to run any additional bills, but this is the second session of the 58th legislature, so everything that died last session and didn't actually get voted down will come back this year. So there are some bills that we weren't too fond of that we'll have to revisit probably early in the session, and then we'll see at the end of the month and probably next commission meeting if there's some new bills that have been filed that we will be working with. So back to the license legislation. So as you know, this is going to be our third session pushing this. I think having some different bill authors will be a benefit for us and give a little bit more strength to the bill. But we also wanted to show legislators the commitment and affirmation of support from our commission, which is why we developed this policy or position statement, a policy statement. I don't know if I need to read through the whole thing, but essentially the position statement just asks for your support on three broad topics. The first is the support for our license bill, which would essentially, like I said, move everything out of statute and allow you all to vote on license changes, so the structure of the license and the fee by administrative rule. It affirms support for our ability as an agency in the commission to review our regulations regarding licenses, permits, et cetera, annually or on a regular basis. We have a little bit of flexibility with that for very few licenses, but we're hoping that moving it to administrative rules lets us, give us more opportunity to review license regulations on really an annual basis, which we don't, for pretty much any license, have the ability to do that because it's in statute. And then just reaffirms support for essentially what the Constitution says, that we aren't going to divert any license dollars for anything other than wildlife conservation funding. So, kind of hoping that with the license structure being in our hands, we have a little bit more control over ensuring that we have the revenue that we need and that it's dedicated to the things that we need it for. So I'm not sure if there's anything else I need to add, but would love to have you guys have your support on this, and it's probably something we're hoping to kind of share with legislators in a printed version, and I would be happy to take any questions or further comments from JD if you have any.
I would just add that if you have any relationships with especially Thompson and Wallace, but anybody over the legislature, in addition to formal support and formal position statement, feel free to let them know informally as well.
I have some comments.
We don't know what.
Go ahead.
What are you going to do with the state?
So probably just have it as a printout. We also have a one-pager that we're working on, meeting with all the legislators as we get the bill through the process and just explain to them what the bill does. And it just essentially is a way to show support from our commission on this.
So this is the third time, right?
Yes.
What obstacles did you run into that you thought we needed to do a position statement?
I think, honestly, in the past couple of years, the first year is COVID, we tried to push the bill the last 48 hours, and so we didn't really have a ton of time to work the bill. So that's probably the first session's major challenge. I think last session, we probably didn't have the most enthusiastic legislators running our bill. I don't know that this was something that was really a passion for the two bill authors that we had, who one is our chairman, continues to be our Senate chairman, and the other we thought was going to be our wildlife chairman, and they changed it after we filed the bill. So I think changing bill authors is going to help us significantly. Roger Thompson isn't a hunter or angler, so he doesn't really have any stake in this as a constituent, but he does have a stake in this from a financial standpoint, and he's expressed his support for this really from the get-go on giving us that authority as a state agency. I think that's been probably more broadly the concern of the legislature is, as an unappropriated agency, licenses are the one thing that the legislature really can hold on to in terms of, control is a strong word, but controlling us as a state agency doesn't really take away that ability for them to still create licenses by statute and have some kind of authority over us via statute. It doesn't take that away from them, but I think that's been the perception, is that we're going to be rogue. And so because the administrative rule process really comes down to approval of rules by the commission, I think it is good for legislators to see that you all support that, hopefully.
And if I could just add
Sure.
to that answer too, I think especially if we have kind of a almost once in a lifetime kind of legislation that we're pushing for, it would be really good for us to make sure, we've got buy-in from the commission, and that we can show legislators we've got buy-in and support from the commission as well. I mean, I think I'd like to do this a little more routinely every year, especially if we're going to have something big we're going to propose and put on the table. Just show that it's not just coming from the department and from staff, but our entire commission as well.
But I might suggest that maybe we should have meetings with some of the legislators and take like 3 or 4 of us at a time and sit down and meet them.
I would love
we
to
can
do that.
I mean, have a piece of paper, one thing, but
Yeah.
talk face to face might make a big difference. This is your third try, I hope it's not the third strike.
No pressure.
I'd be willing to do that, and I think everybody else here would be willing to do that, so.
Yeah, I think we've done a couple kind of informal meetings in the past, not specifically on a piece of legislation, but I think Commissioner Gaddis and Commissioner Brewster and Commissioner Mabry, we've done them kind of either in the field or off-site. I'm happy to help organize stuff like that. We can do it at the Capitol. Some of the stuff that we've done in the past, we've worked with the Sportsman Caucus to host like a meeting, a breakfast or a lunch, and we can have a topic that we want to discuss and invite you all to attend something like that.
We did that similarly with the governor, and I thought that was a pretty good meeting. And so we want to check out a few legislators, maybe take them to lunch, and
Yeah.
casual setting, and discuss that, maybe some other topics.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that
On the
I
fence.
noticed,
Yeah.
one thing I noticed in item number 3, I mean, I don't want them to think that we're concerned that we don't already have that. And I would suggest that we add, after the word legislation that, I would like to add confirms the commission's constitutional duties and helps ensure. Because we already have that. I don't want them to think, oh, they don't think they have it, so now.
Yeah.
Somebody else might interpret that as a weakness, and, we don't
Yeah.
want that.
Is that something we can edit on the fly? Okay.
Well, we can approve it with that edit, and then chairman
Commission's constitutional duties
and help ensure. Because we already have that.
It's a good point.
That's something I was telling JD, there's a Wildlife Federation case on the book that really helps us keep our money. So the legislature has tried to rate it in the past, but we're unsuccessful, and I don't want to get any idea.
Same.
So you're not gonna send this around everybody, you're just gonna hold it and use it when you need it?
I probably won't. I mean, it kind of depends on the situation. My hope is to meet more one-on-one with legislators. We tried to work more directly with the committees and the bill authors last session. And I think because this is such a big piece of legislation and it's 30-some pages, it probably needs a little bit more one-on-one attention from me, just going to individual legislators. And that's usually when I hand out individual pieces of paper, and that's the easiest way to get people to actually read stuff too.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're conveying the fact that it's something that we think we need because we need to react quickly on some of these issues. And when was our last increase?
2003.
I mean, and when you do that, then it seems like a huge increase, and it's bad for public awareness, I think.
Yes.
Make a huge one where we could have been gradually increasing over time. And maybe, CPI index, I don't know. Something we're not behind the eight ball all the time.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, we actually, COVID's kind of been a helpful example for illustrating some of that. Not that we would have made licenses free, but when COVID hit and people were getting outdoors, there were some requests to discount or issue free licenses, and we have zero authority to do that. And so the bill actually gives quite a bit of flexibility to not just setting structure and prices by administrative rule, but allows the commission to designate sales, discounts, exemptions, really anything that you want to do with licenses, sometimes by resolution in addition to rules. So if there was some, extravagant event that we wanted to do some sale or special license purchase, I don't know what that would be, but we would have that ability to be a lot more flexible. We can't give away free licenses by statute, so it's not a bad thing, but yeah. Any other? Sure.
Jenny, you characterize this as a once-in-a-lifetime legislation. Is that the reason for this position statement? I'm the new guy. Is this something we do frequently?
Well, since I've been here 5 years, we've only done it one other time. That was when we were at a meeting in Miami.
We had one before that, too. I think we've done two that I remember.
Okay. Maybe I'm forgetting that one before that. So this may be the third in 5 years, so.
Yeah. So that'd be number
This is a fairly extraordinary act. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. We wouldn't just do it on any old piece of legislation going through.
Maybe you can give just a little history of why people get confused about the stance of the commission in the past on certain items. I think we've had really confusion over the legislation. So I appreciate you elaborate on that.
Well, yeah, there have been a couple of bills rattled through since I've been here at least that legislators were hearing mixed signals that maybe a commissioner or two did not have the same position or opinion that all the rest of the commissioners had. For example, when it comes to the commission having the ability to buy more public land, that's been a little bit, won't say divided of an issue because it's not split down the middle by any means, but there have been a commissioner or two on the other side of that issue. And so I think it just helps if we've got a big piece of legislation that we're pushing. It helps us to be able to show unanimous support if we've got unanimous support. And I'm hopeful that, this one is kind of mom and apple pie at least that was my expectation coming into it, that most commissioners would support being able to kind of be a little more in the driver's seat when it comes to deciding what licenses we're going to offer, how we want to package them up, how can we clean up the over 150 different licenses, permits, and fees that we have. So in this particular case, we brought it to you all for consideration, not because we thought there might be some divisiveness over it, but just to, more than anything, because it's so big, be able to show that there's unanimous support for it amongst our commission. Of course, we've got two missing today, so won't be able to show complete unanimity necessarily, but yeah, I think that's probably the main
Is that
reason.
important to say it's unanimous? Does it have to be done at this meeting, or can it be done at the next meeting to get that, or not? You tell me your timetable.
Well, I think it'd be good if I think we could go ahead and pass it today, and then if we wanted to come back and reaffirm it, if we get two missing commissioners, just so we can get what we've got, and then have that at the ready, because the bill filing deadline is going to be hit January 20th, I think it is, before the February meeting. Yeah, so I think it'd be good to get what we can get today, and then if we want to circle back at the February or March meeting and add any others. But we can also, if there are concerns, questions, you want additional deliberation.
Getting back to Jeff's concern, I don't think we should be in the habit of issuing position statements, otherwise it really kind of dilutes the power we think they might have. So yeah, we need to be real conscious of
Judicious.
topics that we actually go to bat on.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
I would also just add to what JD said in as far as why we decided to do it for this bill is it really shifts a lot of the responsibility it shifts all the responsibility almost for licenses to you all. Obviously, staff would help develop the license structure, but you all become the ultimate approver in the agency of a new license structure and fees, which is a huge shift from where we're at right now, and I think it'd be good for legislators to see that you're ready to take it on, so. And they, of course, still approve the license.
Indication from the feds that they might increase the amount of match that we have to come up with inflation or anything like that.
No, I've heard
Just
nothing.
kind of set the bar with the travel contact about how much we need from them. That's kind of
Yeah.
been alluded to though lately.
Yeah, no, we've heard nothing about there being a change in the match requirements for federal grants. If anything, they've been going the other direction with PR modernization, Target Marksmanship Act. We've got 90-10 match now on gun ranges and
Well,
stuff.
if there's percentages, I'm talking about the value of the license. Because remember, they set a value to it.
Oh.
when they did the travel.
Well, they did just change the rules that now it takes $4 for a combo license to count towards,
What was
it was $2 before.
They doubled.
Yeah, but that was in the works. That rulemaking started 4 years ago or so before COVID hit. Yeah, but it's in effect now. Yeah.
One other question. Do we still have the support from the previous authors, even though they maybe weren't as excited about it as we'd like?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked to, well, I guess I haven't talked to Representative McDougal, but he's not affiliated with our committee anymore. We've talked to Senator Murdoch, who, it's just, I mean, it's like anything else. If you're selling legislation, you want it to be something you're passionate about, and quite frankly, I mean, and he's told us it's just not something he's passionate about, but he's not going to oppose us on it. So he's still our committee chairman, so he still has a lot of authority to hear or not hear the bill if it's assigned to his committee. But it's a roundabout way to answer your question, but.
Well, there's a difference between doesn't oppose and supports. Where
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think we're going to get Senator Murdoch cheerleading this legislation, if that's what you're asking. He's concerned about, there's some, as she mentioned, that are concerned that this is giving too much power to the executive branch and diluting the legislative branch's power. And so it's the people that are in that camp that, he is over in that kind of general vicinity as well when it comes to just any government-related thing. And so that's what causes him a little bit of pause. But, I mean, he did tell me he's not going to outright oppose us. He just wanted to make sure that we knew he didn't really want to carry it this year. He's not passionate about it. He's got other things. So
what is our answer to critics who say that eliminating statutory licensing makes us less accountable?
Well, I think number one of the resolution covers it, where it talks about if we do this through the administrative rule process, it'll have robust public participation, legislative oversight. Legislature at the end of the day can disapprove rules, including these. And so, and I think that legislators are starting to get more and more comfortable with that because they actually changed, even last legislative session, the rulemaking process to give legislators more oversight of the rulemaking process. There's just some that haven't seen it at work long enough yet to have total comfort with it. But that's the argument. Look, you're basically giving the commission the authority to do kind of the real intricate work of figuring out how to come up with the right sets of licenses, the right packages, the right prices. But at the end of the day, we still hand it back over to the legislature, and they decide if they like it or not. And if they don't, they kick it right back to us, and we got to start all over again. So we've got the data, the information, the survey that we paid Southwick to do for us, which looked at and surveyed our customers to give us an idea of what kind of licenses they want to see. And So we're driven to get it right at the end of the day, because if we have to take 5 different years to try to get it right and get it past the legislature, then we just set ourselves back even further, right? So that's our argument. It's worth noting, so I don't even count the first session because that was COVID session, and they decided the last 2 days they wanted to drop the language in a bill and see if they could get it through. Well, I could have told them probably wasn't going to happen. So last session was really the best test, and it passed the House both sessions. It just got hung up in the Senate each time. The first time because they ran out of time. Last year it got hung up in session because the senators raised the concern that I just mentioned, that maybe we're giving the Department of Wildlife too much power and ceding too much power away from the legislature. And so that's kind of what killed it in the Senate last year. But we've been successful getting it through the House a couple of times now.
We went through all the changes on the fees, and this last we're charging about half of them for a lifetime license. Pretty close. It's so cumbersome because the deal every year trying to make incremental changes where we can make small incremental changes each year based on inflation or whatever.
Well, and just adding on to the pricing part of it, that's been probably actually a more minor concern that people have brought up, is if we're interested in just jacking up prices. And our argument there is we have to operate like a business, and if we jack up prices, we're going to lose customers and we're going to lose money, and we have no interest in doing that. And so we did start sharing more publicly with legislators in an interim study, and outside of that interim study, the process that we took for developing the license structure that we hope to eventually propose. And I think they realize that there is a lot of thought and research that goes into developing that license structure. It's not just, I want a deer license for $10. It's, let's look at what do we need out of deer season and deer hunters, but also what do deer hunters want? So there's two sides of that, and I think for many legislators, especially the ones that hunt and fish and buy those licenses, it makes a little bit more sense for them to see us do that. We did at one point have some language in the bill that capped price increases at the consumer price index if needed, and that's something we'll go back to. Right now it's not in the bill that we proposed, but if there's concerns like that, there are some things that we can work in to ensure that people are comfortable with us making certain changes, because we really don't have an interest in raising prices significantly. But it is a challenge, though, to go to the legislature and ask for a price increase if that's what you need, or a whole price overhaul or a structure overhaul. Either way, what we're looking at is striking statute and starting over with trying to consolidate things. But the legislature doesn't have much interest in increasing prices either. So it does add a little pressure, I guess, for the commission, but it ensures that maybe if we do want to increase prices, it's smaller increments instead of, $5, $10.
We don't have any incentives, so that's why.
No.
We lose whether money or not.
Yeah.
So fewer licenses. So why are we ever going to raise $50 million?
Right. Yeah.
Judy, when you mentioned this, the governor was astonished that he
Yeah.
would have that.
It wasn't even a bill at that point, but when I met with him 3 years ago to go through just kind of Wildlife Department 101, he was astonished that we had to go to the legislature to get our licenses and fees changed. He just thought that was the most unbusiness-like practice you could possibly have.
And we wouldn't be the first agency to do that. I think most agencies that have that ability are probably appropriated, but there are many state agencies. Water Resources Board is one that already does this. So it's not really a novel concept. It's just novel for us because it's new.
GRDA.
Well,
More questions? or-
that reason I am supportive of the position statement. I'm definitely a believer in simplicity in government, and it makes sense to me that this group be able to make the decisions necessary to make those changes. But I also am sensitive to the idea that maybe we are not the most accountable of agencies. And I definitely want people to know that this change maintains our accountability to the legislature. So I hope that message gets sent.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any more discussion? Questions? Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
And do we need a motion?
I would move for approval with the amendment that Commissioner Barwick suggested.
Second.
And roll call.
Commissioner Barlow? Commissioner Mabry? Commissioner Holder? Commissioner Dillingham? Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Commissioner Gaddis?
Aye. All right, next for the financials, and Amanda.
Good morning. I was going to stand at my seat, but then Corey walked all the way over here, so I thought I better walk all the way over here. So I was going to give you an update on license sales, just a couple of notes before I do the financials, if you don't mind, because sometimes I forget to do them afterwards.
Sure.
Recreational licenses, so the number of licenses sold was down less than 1% from December 2020 and down 5% for the year. Resident fishing is up 6%, down 21% for the year. Hunting, down less than 1%, but down 11% for the year. Resident combo is up 17% for the month, and non-resident hunting was up 4% for the month. Resident deer gun antlered was down 6. Resident deer gun antlerless was down 5. Resident holiday deer gun antlerless was down 5. Non-resident deer archery was up 24%, and non-resident deer gun was up 34%. So lifetime's down 1% for December and down 2.5% year to date. So kind of some ups and downs, but just wanted to give you an update.
Compare that to 2019 versus 2020.
Still up over 2019. So down from 2020, but up from 2019. So yes. Okay, so financials for the period ending November 30th, 2021. Did I leave the stupid remote? Okay, so Mike is going to do the, okay. All right, so our combined balance sheet of all fund types and account groups. For 11/30/2021, our liabilities and fund balance was $491,211,352. Of that, total liabilities is $745,132, and the total fund balance is $490,466,220, compared with $441,320,263 at the same time last year. On our combined balance sheet for trust funds, our expendable trust fund balance is $43,268. Our non-expendable trust is $97,944,063. Our pension trust is $141,455,518. Our DC trust is $6,168,999 for a total of $288,558,848 compared to last year's fund balance of $262,009,217. Our combined statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances for all fund types for November 30, 2021, and this is from the period July through November. Our total revenue is $27,337,750. Our total expenditures is $23,403,665. And our total other is from other sources, $2,324,274 for total fund balance of $71,758,175, and that's an increase of 42.29% over this time last year. Our combined statement of revenue expenditures and changes in fund balances for our trust funds for November. Our operating revenues is $5,184,175. Our operating income is $1,483,146. Our net income is, or our total fund balance is beginning is $244,075,434. And the fund balance at November 30th is $245,558,580. I've got 2 months of contributions. So for October, we have a total of $1,250. And in November, I have a total of $2,000 for contributions. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions or discussion? Do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
Commissioner Barlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Mabry? Commissioner Holder? Commissioner Dillingham? Commissioner King?
Aye.
Commissioner Gaddis?
Aye. We'll now go to item number 12. Presentation by Bill Dinkins, please. We're going to come back to number 11 in a minute.
So we're going to go into executive session.
That is the desire of the commission to talk about our potential real estate transaction.
So
Move to go into executive session. Second.
Commissioner Barwick? Commissioner Mabry? Commissioner Holder? Commissioner Dillingham? Commissioner King? Commissioner Gaddis?
Aye. Aye. Okay, motion has been carried to return to open session. And do we have a motion?
I make a motion to give the director authority to purchase property located in Oakland County, adjacent, or I guess they're equal, both of it, both of them in there. Best price possible, negotiated with the seller.
Roll call.
Commissioner Barwick? Commissioner Mabry? Commissioner Holder? Commissioner Dillingham? Commissioner King?
Aye. Next item, Amanda, we've got a consideration.
We have a budget revision proposal in front of you today. So our items are $38,500 for Schnocky, Turnbow, and Frank to do a Phase 2 leadership training and interviews on our next level leadership. Fish Division, we have Collier's Landing Boating Access Project for $86,192.33. That's a 75-25 Fed state match, so 75 of that is a budget revision for the federal portion, 25% is for state portion. Wildlife Division for Sam Boy Atoka grant, conduct appraisals and boundary surveys, that's $55,000. That will be all NERDA NPR dollars. And then for our branding and logo refresh for Phase 1, we have $100,000 all state budgeted. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Discussion for Amanda.
Commissioner Barwick?
Aye.
Commissioner Mabry? Commissioner Holder? Commissioner Dillingham? Commissioner King?
Aye. All right, item 13, any new business that was unforeseen in the last 24 hours? With that, next meeting is scheduled for February 7th in Oklahoma City. Any other? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Just a reminder, the commission and staff have been invited to the Grondike Lodge for lunch after the adjournment of this meeting, and then followed by the European pheasant hunt. Quorum may or may not be present, but no official business will be considered or discussed or action taken. Anything else?